Hello trainsters! This is a Lionel ZW transformer. I just acquired it as a distressed transformer at a garage sale, and it's filthy, probably half a century of grime on it. It has some obvious flaws. The power cord is gummy, so it's the original Lionel cord apparently. It has no base plate on it, which is a deficit that we'll have to overcome by getting a new aftermarket plate, or if we can find a used one. But I haven't opened it up yet to see what it is. But just to give a that doesn't feel very good. There's no resistance there, so the rollers inside are probably bad. A little bit of information about the ZW. I believe the first ZWs were made in around 1947-48, and they were 250 watts. Then after a year they went up to 275. I believe that had to do with getting their certifications for the 275 rather than any change in the electricals. Around 1957 they started riveting the cores, the laminated cores of the transformer, because without rivets the slight gaps in between the different laminations would create a hum or a buzz, and so in order to solve, sometimes it became rather annoying or interfering with the enjoyment of the trains. So they in around 57 they changed that with a riveted core, and around the same time they created the R model, which basically changed the pilot bulb from a 6 volt bulb to an 18 volt bulb, and they got rid of the resistor wire in there. So we'll see what we have when we open this baby up and see how old it is basically, and see what type of a unit we're dealing with. They made these things for about 18 years, and it's still... Okay, this is video number 2, and I've just removed the 4 screws. Let's see what we find underneath here. Alrighty, based upon the core, it looks like it's probably from around 1957 or so. It's a riveted core, which is great. You notice that it is lacking the 2 core bracket straps that belong here. There's 2 pieces. There's a bracket strap that should be here, another bracket strap that should be there, so that's distressing to find that that's missing. It also, I'm looking down here and I'm seeing some parts on the underside that I don't particularly like to see. What's this down here? Uh-oh. That's from the rollers. So this thing looks like it's got part of the roller assembly down here on the underside. I can see already that the rollers are pretty worn. These are the rollers, and they're not in very good shape. So we will have to get new rollers in there. This is the circuit breaker, so that's all right. We might have to replace the circuit breaker. But there's 4 bolts on the underside here. These 4 bolts, one of which, they're all loose for some reason, hold the underside of the core brackets in place. So if we take those 4 bolts out, which would ordinarily release the bottom plate, that would allow the core to come adrift. Take these brackets out and you would have more room to play with to put this thing back together again. So there's a few things that we have to take a look at to see what we're dealing with. First off, I'm inclined to put the cover, and I don't like dealing with these machines when the core is exposed. You can get yourself electrocuted, and some people believe that that's a bad idea, and I tend to agree with them. But just now that the top is on, I want to plug it in to see if we have any juice whatsoever. No, this thing is dead as a doornail. Not a single vibration or hum. No lights are on, and I'm sure that it is dead. So we'll have to take a look as to probably replace the power cord. We're going to have to replace these rollers that are in bad shape. This roller is particularly bad. Usually it's the A that is usually the most worn, and that's certainly the case here. And we'll have to find out why we have pieces down in the scuppers down there and clean everything out. So what we're dealing with is first power cord, second rollers. We're going to have to find out and probably put together again the roller arm assembly that seems to be a part of drift there. If it's broken, if the piece is broken, I have to put it back on. Then we've got to take a look, once we get power, to test the whistles out to see if the rectifier discs are in good shape, and if they are, we'll leave them alone. If they're not, they will have to replace them. Now you can either replace them with another more modern rectifier disc that is pretty darn good, or with a stud diode like this, which creates the direct current to operate the whistle. Because of the configuration of the ZW, it is probably infinitely easier to put in a new rectifier disc on each side than it is to try to take the whole assembly apart, because there are two pieces of greased insulation paper underneath the rectifier platform here that are very, very difficult to line up and to keep into place so that they properly insulate the stem down there. So we might just put new rectifier discs in there. All right, well, we have a whole bunch of stuff going ahead of us now. The circuit breaker is right here. It's got a little screw bracket there. We can put a new 15 amp thermal automotive breaker on instead, which probably would be a wise idea at this point, seeing as how the rest of the unit is particularly distressed. Then we're going to have to find replacement parts for the bracket straps and for the bottom plate. Otherwise, maybe we'll get lucky. Well, we'll see on the next one. Okay, this is video number 3. I found that in order to replace the power cord on the ZWs, it's a lot easier to take out the core and give yourself some room to work with, because the power cord comes in on the other side, on the A side, and it takes a little bit of a trip to get there. So let's do that right now. Let's see. We're going to need, a 5/16 wrench should do it. I keep a magnetic strip on my workbench here so that it's a lot easier and safer to keep the bolts and screws in one spot. They're not going to travel anywhere, roll off the table, or disappear. Alright. Also, I'd recommend pushing in against the bolt so that it takes the tension off. and they'll come out more freely rather than having a strain on the other side. Let's see now. Alright, there's 3. You just move over there. Thank you very much. That's 4. And now the entire core should, here's one bracket. Here's the other bracket that has the circuit breaker on it. If we're going to replace the circuit breaker, we could just really unsolder these 2 wires and that would come free. And then the core can come out, given the wires here. So, just to show you, here's the connection right here for the power cord. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clip this off and we're going to thread a new power cord in there. And let me get the clippers and we'll be back to you in number 4. Okay, we have unsoldered the remnant of the old power cord. So now it behooves us to just to get rid of the cord itself. So I'm just going to take a pair of wire cutters and just cut the cord here, pull it out that way, and then pull it out this way. You notice that there's a little knot in the cord. That's to prevent the cord from sliding through the hole and tearing the connections off of the core and losing power if somebody tugged unceremoniously on the cord itself. So this goes into the garbage and this goes into the garbage, and what we're going to do is take a new power cord, and it's already a tinned cord. It's a nice new tinned cord. It's got an L on it. It's an aftermarket cord. It's not Lionel, but it's got a nice tinned. And we're going to slide that through the 2 contact holes in the core, and then just a touch of solder to them, and they'll be fine. So let's start on that right now. My goodness, now that we've opened this up a bit more, I can see that we have a rather substantial problem here. Somebody's been fiddling with the innards of this transformer. This contact tab goes back to back with the smaller of the 2 contact arm assemblies. I'm going to have to pull the pin down here and take off the smaller arm, put this contact tab up against the spring. There's a spring, then you see this black bushing of sorts, an insulation bushing between the 2 arms, so that I can get the contact tab back in and then put the arm back in and then put the pin, the retaining pin, back into place. Since this is an old machine, I expect to encounter a great deal of resistance on this. So I'm going to go off camera to take the pin out and then show you how the rest of the things go. Alrighty?